Good morning, guys. Welcome back to the channel here. Happy Monday. You guys get to look at Max's face the entire time because I'm in a robe and just kind of bumming it around here, and I'm not really feeling like being on camera this morning. But good morning. Didn't even have a chance to see members only update today. Well, Mario, I guess we'll go through some of it. I would recommend going back, though. Those are always more in depth. They cover things a little bit better than what we do on these. So yeah, we'll jump right into the chart. We've had the weekend came and went, and we've got a little bit of price action to talk about. Nothing too crazy. The levels have not changed too drastically for us, to be honest with you guys. I'm still working off of 22,810. That has been the key level for me right here. As you can see, it's been swung felt many times. It's that local high. And one thing we didn't talk about going into this is that the caveman level, the bi-weekly caveman, so easy, anyone can do it, right? Is actually sitting at 22,704. So it's giving you this nice little zone here of intermediate support, which I shouldn't even use the term intermediate because it's actually probably been some of the best support that we've had over the last week. It's been right here. So this has been a little zone of about $106.50 that you guys already knew about, but it just makes even more sense now. And you should be buying this support, right? And that's what we've been talking about. So on to like a 1 hour, you can see I've already got the gold pocket pulled here, high to low. We did make a new low overnight. You came down and swung fail these lows, and you've since closed back above. However, the weekly open is currently resistance. And you can see I have one box right here kind of surrounding your weekly pivots. And it's also at that prior week high that we had been working off of when we first started this range, which is right here. So you can see resistance, 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 get the move back above, make a new high, back below, now back above. And it's kind of served as like, I wouldn't say it's been great support and resistance right here, kind of chopped around a little bit. However, it's a really good area just to gauge. So I'm still including this in this area that, if we get back above, I would look for this gold pocket taking these highs into this new fresh weekly level up here. And you've got the previous week highs, anything above that. And I'm looking to see if we can't push through 24,297 into 24,700. I don't think that's the most likely scenario personally, but those are the levels, and that's how we're going to get there. It starts at the weekly open at 22,945, which is 23,100 as well. I think 110 is what this high was. That was like your previous week point of control. It was your previous day point of control. It was the previous day EQ. There was a lot there to say that this was going to be a good spot to be looking for a low time frame rejection, and we did find it. So that would be the way to go. Yeah, we haven't been back up to this in a while, so maybe this creeps down to that box and we get that push. But support is support till it's not. If we lose 22,810 down to this 22,704 level here on really anything more than an hourly closure, I'm talking like 2, 3, 4 hour closures, I would start looking for this to make that push down into this old previous week low. It's no longer the previous week low because this is technically the previous week low, right? I'd be looking for this to push into here, and this is, I mean, you could put this as support. I'm going to get rid of the box for now, but I would be looking for this zone here at 22.4 down to like 22.3, give or take. And if you lose these lows, we know where we're going. We've talked about it. I do think that you would be looking down into like 20,600, and you have a gap fill down beneath you in the 19s. That's the levels to be trading off of personally. I'm not in any day trade longs, not in any day trade shorts from up here. I've got just the two major positions running, and that's it. I'm not really trying to marry anything where we are currently because, excuse me, it's just not a good spot in the range to be doing so. Now, if we get a push back up into either this resistance or maybe slightly higher into this gold pocket, I'm definitely interested in that trade. That's the only trade I'm interested in taking, is either a push into this resistance or the resistance just above it. Because I do think that we are stacking resistances in this range, and that more than likely a pullback is coming. It just feels very pullbacky. It's not the end of the world. And then in terms of where that leaves us, well, it's going to leave us somewhere probably down in this zone right here. If we just map it out, you can start to see that this is going to be like your November high. You can see this is also going to be resistance previously, old level of support right here, the closures up to the wicks. And that would be good enough to mark it out. And you can also see that we have an old weekly low right here that I've marked. As you can see, this weekly low, let's get rid of the VWAP. Okay, so that's all I'm doing is just marking out prior week low, mainly because you have to think this is where price decided to find support when it was making this range right here. So look through the chat. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Thank you, Shinobi. Thank you, Dave. Hopefully you guys are all doing well. We got, looks like 15 or so of you in here. So happy Monday to all of you. But you can straight away see the September high here. It is trying to hold on to this level on the high time frames. Go to the daily, right? We can see exactly what it's trying to do. So we do need to see this holding on like a daily closure. You come down here on a wick basis and close back above. You know, one could look at that as, I wouldn't say fairly bullish, but I would say you'd be looking for the next resistance test, which is going to be coming in right here at that prior week closure, right? You can see exactly where that's coming in at. So that is the bull case scenario. Timing on this has not changed for anyone that's wondering. I still have a major inflection point coming for this chart, and we may not be getting it on time like I want, but I'm still looking for something along the lines of the end of February, maybe into March, for there to be that final push, but maybe we don't get it. So that's why I say you always got to lock in profits. This was a really major area. Trend-based gold pocket. I've seen a lot of people on YouTube pulling their range, not from here, but now over here. Can't remember his name. Jason Casper. So I thought that was interesting. He was actually selecting a different pivot point, but it kind of just lines up with the idea that I've got here, where this is going to be one giant channel, and we're now at the gold pocket of that channel. Major resistance here between 24 and 24.7. You've now taken these highs effectively, right? So you've had plenty of opportunity to not only get in the move, but you've now taken high 1, high 2, and you've come up short on high number 3. So we're looking down to support, and you can see that the overall point of control comes in right here, right around 20,200. Whereas that prior weekly low in those support zones we were just looking at, usually down to about 20,400, which is going to put you right where we were just looking at in this region. This is a pretty wide box, but I would start aiming towards like 20,006, 20,400. And if you lose these levels, right now, that's the scary part. If you lose these levels, you are looking down to the value area below the range between, you know, the gold pocket, I guess, is what we were looking at. So you would be looking at this gold pocket and the val of this. That would be where I'd be interested in price again. I know it's kind of a messy chart. We'll get rid of the channel and everything, and you can see exactly where that's coming in at, right? So that's what I'd be looking for in that instance if the pullback does happen and it gets aggressive, right? Because this was a very aggressive move up. So you have to think, you can see these two boxes right here between the prior weekly low and the November high, really kind of getting price here on the daily, right? You can see it's just bouncing between them. If you lose this zone, what did we see before? Fast move down, fast move up. What would we expect? Probably a fast move back down. And I would be looking down into, you can map out the quarterly lows if you wanted to, whatever you've got to do. You know, you could say, okay, I want the quarter 2 low and maybe the quarter 3 low, which would be right here, actually, 18,090, right? Yeah, you could extend this box down, whatever you've got to do to help yourself, I guess, determine what's going to be the best support. And you can see this would be right in line with what you've done anytime that you gave this box up previously. Where do you go? You go down to about 18K, 17.5. So really want to be hanging on to this zone. If you lose it, it's not the end of the world, but it's not going to look great, right? And it's not going to look too good, because I'm in the camp then that if you start breaking down back inside this range, which I'm going to move this box yet again, to me, I think it's more prevalent to look at it like so, and look at it like from a closure standpoint right here, right? So you can see how this was your double bottom. You can see this is where the resistance was, straight through it. You lose this zone of support, or you could, again, if you want to be more conservative, you can be. By all means, you must do however you want to look at it. You lose this little area of support. The only thing down below you is the 2023 open, right? So you would then have to be looking at this going, man, we could come all the way down to the 16,000s again. That would take me out of my long position even. So not something that I would like to see, but you know, we have to be aware of all possibilities. So if this starts to break down, I will be looking to hedge a little bit on some of the positions I've taken. It won't be with anything outside of maybe a 1x short, because I'm not in a position unless I get that push up into resistance and I see the reaction that I want. I won't be adding any leverage, because you guys know how we feel about leverage here. We know that leverage ruins lives, just like gambling, right, Max? Just like poker.
Indeed. I don't know why you're
I don't really
saying
have
this
any.
like I'm losing.
So this is the DXY. I'm going to cover this before I turn it over to Max. That way I don't have to interrupt him later. We talked about this level for weeks, this local low, and it went down beneath it. And I was like, man, if this thing actually loses this level, we could go all the way to 96. However, again, came down. We talked about this on Friday's stream as well. Back test here, just on the 4 hour. You can even go to the hourly if you'd like. Resistance, support flip. Now we've got 101 was another key level for us, if you recall. What'd you do? Support flip. Okay, so you guys can see how things are going here. It's going pretty well if you're long on the dollar. So now I'm looking up to this gold pocket and looking up to this 236 at a minimum, all coming in right here. We're in log. We need to get out of that. So I'm still looking for about 103.911 here inside this gold pocket, and you've got the 236 just above you in terms of resistance. Anything above that, and I think I think you're looking at 104.775 right here, and then we play the game of will it take this high or not. But this is about to hit resistance, so if it's hitting resistance and we get a rejection out of the DXY, which still implies it's got more push to come, it just depends on where Bitcoin's going to be at. Is it at support? Where is it at? What's it look like? The SPX, I'm sure, is pulling back as well. We talked about this last night, but if it opens up on the downside, it's not going to look great. And let's get out of that. Let's go to like no, the daily's fine. We just need to remove this. Right, so you can see gap right here, hit resistance. I still think that this is the target until we start breaking back below probably about 4,049. I do think you can lose this level and maybe reclaim it, but I wouldn't want to be breaking down below these last daily lows right here. So we've got this resistance right here that's been kind of the key to Bitcoin's push up, right? So if you get through X and B, you're back inside the old range in theory. We'd like to see the SR flip take place here. So don't want to see any closures down below. We'll just call it 4,000. You start losing this level of support, and well, you're looking back down to these right here, and this looks like like it's forming a shoulder type thing, and it's not exactly it's not the best look. Let's just put it that way. It's not the best look. So that's how I'm reading it right now. You are coming into support on some of these assets. The DXY should be approaching at least intermediate resistance. Bitcoin looks like it is moving into the lows of the range here we were just talking about. Right, so probably comes down into this region. And Max was spot on yesterday where he said that he wasn't buying this rise and that he expected a push down lower. So I'll turn it over to him and let him collect his clout for those that were in the group.
You may be able to help me. Which level did I say that I reckon it'd go to and reject from? Because I couldn't remember in the stream that I just did.
You weren't.
I'm sure I said the VWAP / point of control.
I wasn't in your live stream this morning for the trading one.
No. The members one, you fool.
I think you were on about 23,100 because that was where the point of control was, and the VWAP was coming in there as well.
Well, look at that. And the reason being, guys, is we've got. I'm going to go over the lines that I've got on my chart, and I'm talking about these ones here. So this is CVD, this is open interest, and you can see we've got a pretty steady increase in open interest. I say pretty steady. You've got your drawdowns, but it's overall an increase, and a pretty steady decrease in CVD, which means people are getting more aggressive on the shorts. Overall, when you add these two together, that's what that effectively means. Which means this downtrend is very strong. Obviously, it has been, and it keeps getting these huge drops to the downside with massive volume, which do offer trades, but you have to be there right then and there and ready to take the trade. As soon as you see that spike down and you get that little bounce back up, you got to have the balls to take that trade. Arguably, it's not really catching the knife, or arguably it is catching the knife. But if you are there in the immediate and you can analyze, so I'm going to go to TradingView just quickly and pull up the PVA stuff. So if we could zoom in and look at the lows, I'm going to go to the 15-minute. You can see that every time you get a huge volume spike, so this is volume here, every time you get a huge volume spike, you're getting these large wicks to the downside. Now, if you've noticed in your charts when you're trading, and if you're live at your screen, you've got to be there. You can't be like, oh, I've seen it, now I'm going to take a trade. You've got to be there. You've got to be really quick to catch it, because if you miss it, the trade does pass you. But what I would say to look at is when you get these huge spikes in volume, and you'll get them in the initial wick down, as soon as you start to get that pullback, you may not see what you want to see entry trigger wise, because I'm going to go over a few of the, these wicks and show you why they're really hard to get in. There is pretty much no signal to get into. But if you've analyzed the huge volume spike and the candle then starts to bounce back up quickly, you can enter, put your stop loss below the low, and it's a potential setup. It might not be the best, and you might get caught out, but it's the only way to really trade this on the long side right now. Now, if we look at the lows, the one that was made last night, so anyway, move down is because of stronger positions opening. The reason I didn't like this low is because it's not really, it doesn't really signal anything, and you could kind of expect a little move up, but ultimately you wanted a bigger move down, a bigger washout of open interest, which arguably we got here. But if we zoom in and look at this, when we have really, really nice lows, and the one thing you'll notice is you get the delta switch up. You'll get it where it's really heavily red going into the region, and then you get the buyers immediately come and snap it up. What can you notice about this region on the chart down here? The buyers don't come in till a bit later, and it's just dead volume. This is not the buyback that you really want to see. So right now, there is no good long to really pinpoint, to be fair. There's no really good long that we can look at and say, okay, here, there, wherever. There's no really good trades on the long side right now. And yet people are buying. You've got the buyers here. Fair enough, you just had that huge wick. Maybe they thought we were going to break the daily open. But then again, they're buying straight. These buyers here coming into the VWAP, or as they break past it. And this one here, we were watching this one. We said, I think this guy was 4 million. I think it was a 4 million long that this guy entered. I think we worked out of 170 something Bitcoin. And I imagine he's licking his wounds a little bit right now, as it's quite a big drawdown. I want to say quite a big drawdown, a big loss already. But you shouldn't buy straight into the VWAP, because there was no reason to buy here. I'm not sure why they did that, but for me, there's really not much to go over, because today's been a very dead day. There's not really been any good trades. You've just been bouncing below the daily open. The level that I would really like to see, and let me just get that off my screen, is the claim of the monthly open. That to me would signal, we're going to push the upside, and that would be a trade that I'm interested in taking as a claim to then go to that golden pocket, which Magic just had up from the high to the low. That would be the only long trade that I'm actually interested in, which is quite mad, because I don't normally trade that type of thing. But it'd only be the claim of the monthly open that I'd really be interested in taking a long from. Short setups, probably rejection from the same region, the charts, or coming over and taking these highs, because you'll notice here, granted we took the highs here, but these highs have all yet to be taken. So there may be some positions on the other end of this. For example, if we zoom in and we do think about this, where these guys paid 4.4 million, huge spike in open interest and a huge positive delta. There are shorts on the other end of that. He's bought into a massive order short. So they could get taken out, and then we come down to the downside, which that would be the only short setup that I really see. And because we are where we are and it is a new week, I do need to go over the single prints again, just a refresher. These are coming in at 22,200 thereabouts. Really key regional charts that we need to hold. And as we get closer towards it, the pressure does build, especially as this trend where we've got this increasing open interest to the downside, it doesn't really look like it's over yet. We've not seen the buyers come back in with real confidence. We've seen a spec here and there, but overall I just don't see real interest in it yet. I think people are a bit shook because we've been in a downtrend for a fair few days now. Granted, it's not a real downtrend, but you know what I mean, on a low time frame, I guess, a few days, people are still somewhat scared because whenever they've been entering, they've just been getting wrecked on these moves. So, I don't think it's over yet. We really need to see buyers come in at some point. But wow, because there's no good longs right now, there really isn't any good longs. Probably the previous week low is the only region that I'd possibly look for a potential long, but then that's risking playing around with the single prints. But that's pretty much it. There's not really too much else to go over. There is, I think, the Mr. Powell is speaking tomorrow at 9 o'clock my time. I don't know what time that is for you guys, but that could bring some volatility because today's been rather slow. Well, for the time that I've been awake anyway. But yeah, pretty much done, Magic. Not really got too much else to go over.
No, yeah. One thing I'm going to cover is just real quick. I'll go over a little bit of just like the daily market structure here. And reason being, guys, is we talk about trying to find a short, and you kind of got to be sat ready at your computer. But just to give you like a little bit of how you spot these things, right? So this is your daily open, daily close, right? So now we're going to mark off where's the Asia session. It starts here at the daily open. For me, it runs to midnight, so all the way to 0. We talked about this a little bit last time, so I don't know if that person's still in the chat, but if they are, we'll do this real quick. And then there's your New York open. So we've sectioned this off into segments, right? So straight away, what do you notice about what happened in the London session versus the Asia? You ended up taking your local high right here, okay? So that's all this is a quick sweep of the Asia session high in London. You've swung fail it, and now you're coming back down below it, and you can trade that however you'd like. Let's see. Yeah. And so what you would expect here is after you've swept this coming into that zone, I would start looking for where our point of control of our prior session, right? So that's all we're doing. Boom. There's our take profit. So now what we're watching is this point of control. So that's all we're doing is we're mapping out our sessions. And we've talked about this previously. I think I did on Friday where I said, what are we looking for? We're looking to see what the points of control are doing. Are they moving up or down with the trend? The trend is obviously moving down, as Max said. It's a strong downtrend. So I would expect that if we were to work out the session POCs from the weekend as this, or even Friday as this is getting underway, that it would be downtrending, meaning that the highest volume is trending down. So more and more volume is pressing down, and eventually that changes. But let's see here. Yep, there you go. And we have basically got, you could mark out the lows, I guess, of this if you wanted to, and say that you've taken the London lows. I just don't feel they're all that important unless you're looking at them as a trigger in coordination with this POC, right? So this is your Asia session POC. So now we're watching that basically. And I'm going to make this, we'll make this the Asia so that it's at least marked correctly. So you can see what's going on here. You've either got to reclaim 22,810, the key level we've been talking about, which is in conjunction with our support right here at the caveman, right? 22,704. You've either got to reclaim this, and we can start looking back up towards potentially some of these local highs, okay, up here. Maybe the point of control, take these local highs, maybe even take out the London session high and get that push up to give us a better short. That'll be the trigger. So if you're trading this 22,810, you're looking for that to get claimed. Then you're looking up to about 22,934, give or take a few dollars, and level to level from there, because there's no guarantees that it takes this out and moves you back into like the weekly pivot setup that I was talking about earlier. So hopefully that's made sense and how you guys could have found positions and how you should be watching it. So if you start losing this, which is in conjunction with our higher time frame support, right, it stands to make sense that the trend that's trying to get started will fail, and you're looking down to probably take these lows again and make a new low, and you'll probably challenge, kind of like he was saying, into that local zone, I guess, right down here, the previous week low and the 22,400 level, and then those single prints down below, which is a good shout by Max. I'd forgotten about them, actually. You can kind of tell they're here, obviously, but I'd forgotten that they were technically also there. So do want to see this area kind of just adding to the importance, not only on the medium and high time frames of this little box that we mapped out, but now the low time frames are also starting to come in and bleed into that and really show you why this is such an important area on the chart to hold. And if you lose it, one would expect to probably see a new low made, and this trend right here never really took off. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. If there's questions, you guys know what to do. Hop in the Discord, leave a comment down below on the video. I'm not going to really roll through too many of the alts. I don't think it's necessary, but this is kind of doing what I had said it was going to do. We talked about this on Friday, so I might clip that, but I said we were essentially watching Matic here, and the reason we were watching it was because you didn't quite have a proper swing fail on the daily yet on Friday. We hadn't seen this candle yet. So this is Saturday. This is Friday right here. You can see that these highs, this isn't a very good high on the daily. The 4-hour, however, was telling you that you had a short trigger. And so I was going over this and I was saying, if I shorted here, I'm looking to take profits at about 118, 117, which we did hit the 117 mark. And then if I can, I'm going to put my stop loss at entry and I'm going to try to write it down to like 105 and 101 area. But you didn't have this swing fail on the daily yet. So I said, there's a chance it comes up and still takes the daily. And if so, it stops you out of your trade. You take that second trade again. You just keep taking it because it's a good trade. You're at resistance. If it gives you the setup, that's what you're going to do. And if you go down to the daily, what did you do? You came up, closed back below, and you could mark out your old daily high that you've swept right here. We'll make it white, right? Because someone had asked if I would go over how you could have found entry. Okay, so what did we do? Now we're on the hourly. Boom, back above the level. You've got multiple back tests. You've got 1 and 2 back tests into the level, meaning that you can be conservative and you can put your stop loss here. But my preference would be above the high. That's where your risk is at. And then you're just treating this, this is kind of like a little bit of education, I guess. You're just treating this like so. You're just saying, okay, this is my entry. And these are my targets. My first target is here, right? And you can see it's only a 2.59 to 1. However, you get that first take profit. So that way, no matter what happens, you're getting out of this trade in profit. Now we're trying to shoot it all the way down to here. And now look at your risk to reward. It's massive, massive risk to reward. What's the ratio there? 7 to 1. If you can get it down to this NPOC just beneath the level, you're looking at 8.3 to 8 to 1. I know that doesn't help us now, but for anyone that was in the stream on Friday, that was kind of what we were talking about. We were talking about getting into this position and looking at Matic as a potentially for a pullback here, that I wouldn't be interested in buying it, and that we knew we had intermediate support here. Also, it is your developing monthly range, right? So we know that this is also coming in here. So, however, we did leave January naked, and this has been a very aggressive move up. So, do with that what you will, I guess. That's the only thing I'll say about that. Do with that information what you will. I'd be curious to see. Yeah, that's January. How's the rest of it? There we go. Yeah, so if you start breaking down from this level, you'll be breaking your regression on this whole move up. This is your trend for 2023. And yeah, I'd be looking for a fill. You get back below this level, and you've got these lows to be aware of. We talked about that, and I believe your monthly pivot as well is lining up in this region. Boom, $1.01.9. It's just hard not to eyeball that level, and it does then begin to look like a back test of support and resistance. Very, very simple. You go out to the daily now. We know where our levels are at. And is this support and resistance? It has been. Does that mean it will be again if reached, I should say, because we haven't done anything to say we're going to reach it just yet. We have not broken down from that 117 level. But if we do, I would say this offers up an opportunity with a decent reaction, right? If there's a good reaction here, this could be a nice bounce play. Could be a lower high, so be aware of that. But it will offer up a trade at the minimum. So that's all I've got. I don't want to keep going too long. We've been going about 30 minutes. I think that's good. There's 34 of you in here. Thank you guys so much. Again, if there's questions, all you guys got to do is shout it out in the comments or in the Discord. If you're in there, link is in the bio. And if you're interested in anything that we offer in terms of educational services, leadingcrypto.io is the stop for you. There is a half off first month coupon available. I think it's BTC 22 still. And you're good to go. All right, guys. Cheers.